In 1977, news anchorman Virgil Meadowlark had some kind of breakdown on national television. Started babbling, speaking in tongues. The network released a press release saying he'd had a stroke. Whatever happened, he never went back to broadcasting. Instead, he disappeared from public life for 3 years. Then, in 1980, he published a book, Perihelion. Bestseller right from the word go, which, by the way, is the first word of the first chapter. Go find yourself. It didn't stay just a book for all that long. Readers became converts. They pooled their money and bought a town, Meadowlark's childhood home, Badger, Wisconsin, and renamed it Perihelion. I run a company that does impossible things. Sometimes with words and smiles, sometimes with Kevlar vests and AR-15s. It all depends on the job. For this one, the Perihelion job, we're going to need more than communication skills and good aim. We're gonna need a fucking miracle.
Welcome back to Visited by Voices Live. You know, Sam, we really need to slow down on live content. I think we're oversaturating the market. We don't want them to get tired of us.
Well, you know, you killed my great entrance because of that black screen, that little delay. Because I turned off my camera deliberately because I was going to be like, ooh, sparkly.
I didn't know what you were doing, so I was like, I guess we're going to like pause and wait for her to come back.
No, I just wanted to show this off because I thought it was badass. I got a Bath & Body Works. Part of their little clearance sale. So, I had to get it. So.
I thought you could drink some vodka out of it and make Dan Aykroyd a little more rich.
No, we have an empty one that we use downstairs for change, though. It used to have Dan Aykroyd's autograph on it, but because, you're always holding it and putting change in it, rubbed off.
I understand. Piggy banks will do so to you.
It's true.
So this is the show where we just rely on the audience to somehow get us through the night. It's been a while since we've done this. I think it's safe to say, Sam, that both you and I have had a lot go on in the last few months that is not worth talking about here, but I understand it's been a wild and woolly year. And we still love everyone out there. Well, most of you. But just it's been hard to find the time to do this.
Yeah, that's true. And I actually had a busy October. I was doing things with friends outside of my house, which is very strange, but in a good way. So, no complaints. And we also got a new kitten. So
I believe I may have seen said kitten.
I'm going to talk. Yeah, his name is Soul Cat Guy. So if anybody's a Guilty Gear player, you'll immediately get the reference. And we thought it was going to be because he's a little black kitten. So we were thinking either Soul Cat Guy, that was Chris's idea, or, Eddie maybe. Because I was like, is he even going to respond to Soul? And he wouldn't respond to Eddie. So he chose Soul. And he's a goblin to the nth degree. He's amazing. And our other cat, Lucy, she's so happy to have a more active playmate because Knight was so much older than she was and he didn't always want to play. But no, those two are just always together, and she washes him, and sometimes they'll cuddle a little bit, but not that much. But yeah, just she's so much happier. It's wonderful.
If I may put forward a slice of personal philosophy, I feel that man has ruled this world as a demented child king long enough, and it's time for the cats to inherit the earth.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I just ripped off both Alice Cooper and Vincent Price in one reference, and managed to make it about cats. So there you go.
Well, yeah, feeding the cats is like the best part of my day now because they both know what stinky fish means. And then I do the stinky fish song, which I'm pretty sure is what killed Olivia Newton-John because I did it too much. And it's like, let's get stinky fish, I want to get stinky fish. And
well, to be fair, I think that Stinky Fish may have been Olivia Newton-John's nickname. So,
ooh.
So as we speak, and I'm not going to show you, but I do have a cat on my lap at the moment. So everyone out there can say hello to Miss Stormcloud, even though you can't see her at the moment. She's right on my lap.
Aww.
But I want to start out with the most important question of the night. It's being posed by Mr. Daniel Shine. The oracle that is Dan Shine. Has Sam talked to Elon about unbanning her from the Twitter?
As Chris said, he's not returning our calls yet. So I should probably just go ahead and get this out of the way, because it happened a while ago. So there is a grifter on Twitter and YouTube named That Umbrella Guy. He's adjacent to the LawTube idiots. Also a supporter of Vic Mignogna. And also friends with a pedophile named Slick Jimmy, or he was anyway. So it says a lot about his character. Anyhow, so he grifts because he just makes a bunch of anti-Amber Heard videos, which is a lot of people on YouTube. And, he was talking about somebody filing a false CPS report on him, which in the past, his fans have actually filed a false CPS report on him to give him sympathy.
Wow.
So
that's a thing.
I engaged in some schadenfreude, and it was like maybe 2 or 3 tweets where I was like, yeah, you're going to lose your kids and we'll celebrate. And yeah, that's mean of me because that's the person I am. Now, if you know me, I have a problem with grifters because I have a friend that was harassed very badly and he tried to kill himself because of that. And this was harassment at his workplace. And I have a friend who died of suicide. So I'm very sensitive about that and I don't tolerate that bullshit. So I don't feel bad about his feelings. Anyway, so then, he goes and he quote tweets me and implies that I was the one that put the false CPS report in, which is, obviously he has no evidence for it. So then all of his followers, because they're idiots, they go after me. They go through my tweets. They go and they just all mass report me. And there goes my account, And I'm not going to try and get it back because it's like, why? I know I violated the terms of service. Okay. It's Twitter. I'm not apologizing. So, schadenfreude.
Absolutely. So I think that the more important lesson of this is that Sam has survived, and she's still out there. If you want to search deeply enough, you will find.
Well, it's fun. You don't actually need an account to be on Twitter. You can just use twitter.com/explore.
There you go.
So, very easy for me to keep tabs on these idiots.
Yeah. So there you go. Anyway, so that keeps you up to date on the Sam files. I will say that just for the record, anyone who spends too much time defending a piece of shit like Johnny Depp, you're probably a bad person anyway.
Agree.
All right. So on to much more controversial subject here. Do you want to do Dan or Cliff's question next?
Who came first, the Dan or the Cliff?
That's the question of the age, right?
Let's see. The Dan's question is, what are your top 10 2022 horror films so far? So I have a lot of homework to do because all the film, I looked up I Googled the 2022 horror films. I've seen mostly nothing but shit this year. I haven't seen any of the good ones that I keep hearing positive things about, like Pearl and Moloch and Men, right? Among many others. those are the ones that keep, Crimes of the Future. Those are the ones that come to mind because they're still, on my to-do list. So I actually only have two that maybe I liked Fresh. Fresh wasn't, I can't really rank them because this is kind of like a little spur of the moment. So
it's too fresh. I haven't seen Fresh yet, and I'm so I have homework too.
Yeah. Well,
Dan has a spreadsheet of things that I'm supposed to watch before the end of the year, I think.
I should think about doing a spreadsheet. So, Fresh I enjoyed, except for a couple of little instances here and there. I did like Prey, and even though it didn't blow me out of the water, but I enjoyed it. And let's see. I would probably say of all the movies I liked the most on this short list of things that I've seen, Master is probably the one that the strongest one for me. And that came out around the same time as X and Uma. And that was on Amazon with Regina Hall. And it's kind of like a bit of a ghost story, but not really. And since that was like several months ago, I'm going to have to go back. Maybe I should just go back and rewatch everything I've already seen to rank it. But I would recommend Master. Master's pretty good. And I did not hate the monsters. Just the only thing is, like, Sherry Moon Zombie just doesn't feel completely committed. Like, she doesn't feel like full Lily Munster. But, Also, who the hell is the Car 54 joke for? It's not for this generation. It's barely for my generation. I only know Car 54 because I watched Nick at Night and I'd see like commercials for it. I never sat down and watched it.
Yeah, no. I haven't seen the Monsters. I'm assuming I'm not going to like it, so I'm just going to avoid it. I think there's enough good stuff out there that the stuff that I think is pretty clear it's not going to be for me. I should just steer clear of, which is why I haven't seen Halloween Ends, right? Because there has to be a point where you're just being an asshole by watching stuff you don't like. You're not going to enjoy.
I'm still actually chewing Halloween Ends over in my brain. There's a lot for me to pick apart. Actually, so I have a weird question, but does the present feature on StreamYard work if I send it over?
I don't know. I hate the present feature because I fuck it up every time.
Okay. Shall I give it a try?
Sure. Okay,
because Chris and I just saw Halloween Ends with a couple of our friends that got married. And you've already seen this, Lauren, so...
Yes. I would love to play this, but you have to send it to my email, I think, because if you send it to Twitter, I can't download it.
Oh, well, if it's already in my Google Drive, so would that work?
Should.
All right, well...
Let me see if I can...
Oh, no. Well, I'm going to have to download it. Okay. I'll just go ahead and send it over real quick. Probably be easier. So we went and saw, oh God damn it. Never mind. I'm technologically inept. I apologize. This is why, like, I'm not the person doing the StreamYard here. So we went to see it with our friends Mark and Chelsea. They just got married over at the San Japan Anime Convention, which was very, very cool. And Mark is a huge, huge Halloween fan. So we saw Kills with them also last year. And I think that I did a podcast episode about Halloween with him before, but it got lost in the mix and never made it. So he had there were a couple of times during the movie where he was, the thing where you're trying to push yourself up from your seat to leave the theater. He did that a couple times.
Oh, well, that's always a good sign.
Yeah. All right. So let me see if this works.
All right. So in the meantime, I'll kind of like I've read through my list before. Not much has changed. But here's the thing, Dan. My list is not solely horror films. Most years it tends to turn out that way. But this year there's 2 films, maybe 3 films that would be hard to classify as horror. My top film of the year is Saloum from Senegal. Just a masterwork in every way. Just an incredible film. It's on Shudder. Everyone should check it out. It's amazing. Also on Shudder, my number 2 film of the year, Moloch from the Netherlands. It is amazing. It's, in my opinion, the best folk horror film ever made. It comes with the highest possible recommendation for anyone who likes kind of quiet, slow burn, supernatural horror. Number 3 would be Decad, my favorite action film of all time from India this year. It's amazing. I shared it with the folks at Scare Fest this year that were in the room, and they ate it up because it's just, you watch an incredibly attractive woman depopulate most of India by killing everyone she can find. It's the kind of action film we think we used to make, but honestly, if you look at what we used to make, nothing was this cool. Number 4 would be El Paramo, which The Wasteland or the Beast from Spain. Awesome, bleak, nasty piece of work. I think that's going to work, Sam.
It is?
I believe so. We'll try it in a second.
Yeah.
Just if you haven't seen El Paramo, definitely do so. And then when you're depressed afterward, don't call me. Number 5 would be Men, which I think is a continuation of A24's track record of putting out anywhere from minor to major masterpieces every couple of years. Number 6 would be The Cursed, which is the most mainstream film on the list. Got a big U.S. release, didn't do particularly well. I think it's an incredible werewolf film. Definitely, probably my favorite modern werewolf film. I think I do like it more than The Howling, which, I'm a Howling, not an American Werewolf guy for obvious reasons. But Cursed, I think, is pretty amazing. I think a lot of people are underestimating the value of that movie. Then number 7 would be Hatching from Finland. If you never seen a film about a young girl befriending a alien bird creature who might be a psychological projection, you need to see this film. Number 8, The Northman. Again, not a horror film, but definitely of interest to any horror film fan out there because of Egger's track record. Number 9 is Dubara, which is actually a dark science fiction film from India. It is a remake of the French film Mirage, the Spanish film Mirage, sorry, and stars the great Taapsee Pannu in another just bowl over perfect performance. Way better than the film that inspired it. And finally, at number 10, David Cronenberg squeaks to the bottom of the list with his newest entry, Crimes of the Future. It's not my favorite Cronenberg by a long shot, but you know what? Any year where we get a new Cronenberg film is probably a year to celebrate. And that would be my top 10. Are you ready
Very
to see
solid. I think you should put that on Twitter, actually, as a viewer guide.
I think I did, actually, a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to do it at the end of the year. There'll be definitely a presentation of the favorites.
I'm going to apologize ahead of time for a second because I'm being bombarded with cats. He's being a goblin and chewing wires, so I have to escort him out.
All right.
Come get your son, Chris. Lucy can stay. She doesn't do that. All right. Sorry about that.
All right. Without further ado, let's see if this works. Let's see if we can give you an impromptu Halloween Ends review, not from either of us.
The opening. It pumpkin through pumpkin through pumpkin. And I'm like, there's no way they're doing Season of the Witch. There's no goddamn way. Guess what? Guess who was fucking wrong? Holy shit, that thing was terrible. They had an eye. It was like what they had that so grieving scene. They did, and don't watch it. Just don't.
I like how he says it sounds like he's saying help at the end, but he's actually saying that Halloween 2018 was the good one, which yeah, I guess
that may end up being the case, but I'll never know.
Yeah, I mean, do we want to talk about? I mean, I don't know if it's not gonna matter to you. Does the chat want to know about Halloween Ends? Are we over that? Because it's been 3 weeks almost.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know from YouTube though, because they're still freaking talking about it incessantly.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a cottage industry of the same like 7 franchises that get talked on about ad nauseum on most horror channels. Obviously, everyone knows I'm just fed up with it, and I just don't want to do it. But that said, let's talk about Cliff's question.
All right.
Do you see any potential for the new Friday 13th series? To rate it, I'll be using a scale going from shit to fucking shit.
I don't care. I'm like Lauren with Halloween Ends. I don't care.
So it's a weird thing because I'd love it to crash and burn on one hand because I want Mark Toberoff to crash and burn, preferably in an airliner. But and because he is just a scumbag lawyer who's destroying the genre, and he's the big villain. On the other hand, Brian Fuller is attached, and Brian Fuller is one of those guys that I haven't loved everything, but you got to respect on some level. A24 handling the distribution on the project, even though it is through streaming, but still it has to have a distribution pipeline. I don't know how much actual hands-on the A24 team are going to have on it. I doubt it'll be very much. Some people have been saying online that they're worried that because A24 are attached to it, that it's going to be like too serious a take on Friday 13th. And I would just say, like, they released X and Pearl this year. I mean, I think Pearl is great, mind you, but both those films aren't exactly deep dark all the time. Both are fun films. So I think they're smart enough to find the right tone. And by the way, A24 also released a thing that I'll never see this year called Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. So I think it's entirely possible that they don't always make serious, men / Hereditary / The Witch type films. So.
Yeah, and I mean, they're also going to be doing The Iron Claw with Zac Efron as Kevin Von Erich. And dude, oh my God, I didn't know Zac Efron could decide that, hey, no, I'm going to have my body just like build muscle correctly like Kevin Von Erich's, because it's crazy. That is wild. I'm looking forward to that. But so, not a horror movie.
So, I mean, a television series that's a prequel that is actually not a prequel to the series that we know, but it's a prequel into a new franchise, because that's what we're talking about here. We are not talking about a prequel to the 1980 film. It's going to change lore, definitely, and maybe some people will be okay with that. Maybe some people won't. As an episodic television series, that's untested waters, even though we had a television show called Friday 13th. So I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm not going to watch it, because we haven't had any Friday in 12, 15 years. I don't know what it's been. So at least there's been a break. So I'm not oversaturated with Friday, unlike, endless Halloween films. So, I mean, I'll give it a shot, but we'll see. We'll see. I would feel more comfortable, perhaps, if it was a feature than the television show, to be completely honest with you, because TV shows tend to not work for me. Mm-hmm. But that's a personal thing, So I guess that's my feelings at the moment. I will say this is not the... Oh, Sam, come back. Sam, come back. I didn't mean to kick you both out. This is not the last Friday 13th announcement you're going to get in short order. Sorry about that, Sam. When I kicked out the video you sent, it kicked you out with it.
Oh, I see how it is.
So that was a thing.
Well, you know what? Trial and error. We live and we learn.
All right.
Friday 13th.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know what more we can really say about it at this point, right? Because we know nothing. I mean, it's called Crystal Lake. That's a good title for something, considering Victor Miller knows he owns that outright. My understanding is that there is a deal in place so that there's nothing off limits. But that specifically, it must remain a domestic television thing. That's a streaming product. There cannot be a theatrical component to it. But again, if it's a series, you wouldn't expect there to be. So I guess that all makes sense. I don't know.
My reservations is that if, so we get this, right? And now that's going to encourage all the other franchises to do something similarly dumb. And I don't want that. I don't want a streaming series of Nightmare on Elm Street. Favorite franchise? I don't want it. Get out of here.
I mean, don't you kind of want to protect the stuff you love? And to me, it always seems like the thing has a run. It comes to an end, you know, either for good reasons or for bad. And then you kind of protect the legacy of that thing. And I think that we're not in that mode with all these franchises. You get Texas Chainsaw Massacre or any of it, really. Even Dawn of the Dead being back in theaters in 3D is kind of an atrocity. And I don't even like Dawn of the Dead.
I just, you know, you can just leave well enough alone. We can just move on to other things. You know, if there was a good story, I wouldn't be opposed to a movie from one of the older franchises, but they don't have good stories. And I think one of the problems here also, and, you know, studios really should look into having like fan consultants, at least one or two that are obsessed with the history, the lore, the canon. Because you know what picky bitches we are. I mean, you've got to have somebody to keep the continuity going, and then, you know, or at least keep the tone correct, right? I know that sounds like it could stifle the creativity of, you know, the director or whatnot. But damn, man, like I think I've been disappointed by most of the major franchise installments lately. Like Prey was fine. Didn't have a problem with that. I didn't even hate Texas Chainsaw that much. But it all feels like I just don't care anymore. I just don't really care about these big franchises.
No, I mean, they're taking all the air out of the room in conversation about the genre, and they're not providing much in exchange. That's the problem. Like, I want to be as excited for the new projects coming out as I was, you know, growing up, when everything was fresh and new and there wasn't long-running franchises. They didn't exist. So, I mean, we were building them at that time. But whatever. I like this question, so we're actually going to do this. DJ asks, how was your Halloween?
It was very laid back. We were going to go as the gatekeeper and the keymaster, but unfortunately my gatekeeper outfit got delayed, and they were like, sorry, we can't ship it till after Halloween.
That defeats the purpose of a Halloween costume.
Yeah, so Chris didn't dress up as the keymaster, so we just recycled our old Calvin and Hobbes costume from 2018. You know, it was fun. I know my hair's not blonde right now, but that's okay. And we just sat on the porch and gave out candy the whole night. Drank some, you know, split some delicious pumpkin beers because, you know, Chris is like, that's, you know, Chris loves pumpkin anything as soon as fall hits. It's like pumpkin for a good 3 months.
Well, he's in luck then, because the whole society becomes pumpkin spiced.
Exactly.
It's like,
yeah, we didn't.
McDonald's introduced the new pumpkin spice fries. It's gonna come one of these years.
He had pumpkin spice ramen last year, and it was fucking nasty.
That sounds nasty.
It smelled like I smelled it, and the smell was so horrifying. Like, between smelling the pumpkin spice and looking at the texture of the noodles, I had this hard pit in my stomach for like an hour. I didn't even eat it. Ugh.
Dan asks, who has watched Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities? I've not, and I definitely want to, because the idea of adapting Golden Age pulp weird fiction is like right down my alley. But I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, I'm wanting to see that also, but you know, I feel like my time is just like quickly evaporating in the evenings now.
Yeah.
I don't have to do this one.
You see Smile yet? So I saw Smile. So, I mean, I think what I said to the region-free private chat is probably the best way to go about this. As a horror film, a film that's meant to disturb or confound or disgust or explore grief or to hold you in gallows humor, any of those dark emotions, it is a D. Not a D minus, but a D. It's bad. As an unintentional comedy, It's more like a B. I've never heard one character say, "I'm not crazy," so many times in my life. It is "I'm not crazy" is the Evil Dies Tonight of Smile.
So
So take a wild guess what the plot of that thing is. So it's the Candyman thing. Just done. It's Candyman meets Ringu meets a dipshit progressive commercial.
Is John Hamm in it at least? If it's a dipshit progressive commercial?
I'm gonna say maybe, because I couldn't focus on the movie because it was just things happen and they're not supposed to be funny, but they're all funny. There's a bit of pet trauma in it, which that I have a special place in my heart for pet trauma. But they meant it to be like the most horrifying thing that could ever happen, and it's just hilarious.
Was it funnier than the cat in Firestarter?
Far funnier.
Oh my god! Okay, well, I'm intrigued.
But again, they think it's going to horrify the audience, and then like the character does a after this horrifying thing happens with the cat. There's the character takes a dive through a glass table like in Heathers, and so I mean I'm crying. It's hilarious. It's fucking ridiculous. And then it all ends with a bunch of dumb CGI. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I mean that's par for the course.
Yep.
Yeah, so I have to, I have to follow this up with a question. So does this mean Kyle Gallner is not Horror King?
Clearly not. There you go.
The Kyle Gallner stance came for me before I lost, the day before I lost my account. Like, I pissed everybody off that weekend.
I'll tell you, you were in rare form.
Also, with the CGI, okay, I'm feeling like really salty about this since I've been going back and watching some of the Universal Monster movies because
I was going to get there with you.
Well, okay, well I'm
Let's
very salty about this because of course, I haven't gotten through The Mummy yet. That was the last one I started, but I finished Bride of Frankenstein, and then before that was Frankenstein, before that was Dracula. So, Bride of Frankenstein. Why do we have to put up with this garbage ass CGI when back in 1935 they're showing me all these like tiny people in jars, including a fucking mermaid, and it looks seamless? Why don't I get that? Why am I not allowed to have nice things anymore?
Well, I mean, watch The Invisible Man with Claude Rains, then watch the new version that everyone was so up with, and tell me which one has better special effects. Really, it's stupid.
I mean, yeah, I like both, but I mean, I still prefer the original.
Yeah. So I mean, it's funny because everyone knows that Bride of Frankenstein is my favorite film of all time, and I think a lot of people think they'd never be able to get into something that old. Isn't it just ridiculously well aged as a film?
Yeah, I mean, also, I love the beginning of it was kind of was a little bit of a fake out, like, haha, we're retconning this, haha, no, we're not. And, seeing Elsa Lanchester get to play Mary Shelley was delightful. And then, do some double duty later as the bride. But she moves like the way she's not even on screen that long.
No.
And she moves like a bird, like the way her head turns, but then she also seems like kind of a robot. So again, lending credence to, birds actually being drones sent by the government. I'm just saying, maybe she was onto something, but it's like, it doesn't feel like you're watching an actress play a role. And that's the same feeling I had with Bela Lugosi in Dracula. That does not feel like Bela Lugosi acting. That feels like I'm watching goddamn Dracula. And I'm like, I don't get this anymore. I can't have these things.
You can take basically any frame from any of the Universal Monster films from 31 to 35, any frame of those films, and it's worthy of a gallery painting.
Yes.
And then you look at like kind of where we're at now with how cheap and lazy the visuals are and what we have coming out, generally speaking now. And it's shocking. It really is. Which is one of the reasons why, people get really up in arms and they'll say, "Oh, the Tom Cruise Mummy film was awful." I'm like, well, yeah, but so were all those Brendan Fraser films. If you compare them, I mean, if you don't, you just feel warm and fuzzy about the Brendan Fraser films because you saw it when you were a certain age or whatever. I get it, but we're nowhere near in the class of those wonderful 30s films. We're just not. I'm glad you're enjoying them because it's a lot of people just won't take that jump. They just won't do it.
No, I mean, they're visually, they're beautiful. And I mean, like, I did enjoy Frankenstein, and the scene of the windmill at the end, especially when it's on fire, and just looking at some of the scenes. What the hell is happening back? I'm sorry, the other cat's in here. She's usually much better behaved than this.
Yeah, she was trying to climb the wall a little bit ago.
That sounds correct. Lucy, come on, baby cats. Baby cats. And she just stares at me. Anyway. But the scene with the windmill on fire is striking. But one of the most chilling part of that movie was, oh my God. Okay, bear with me, guys. Come on, miss. Come on. Okay. Can you go play with your brother for a little bit, please? Oh, I know, baby cats.
This is why the internet was created.
It is, yes. Just to watch me act the fool with the cats. Come on, baby cats. Go play with your brother. Here we go. I'm sorry, this has been a running theme. They both follow me constantly. So, anyway, no, but the scenery is beautiful. But the part that was just kind of, it's still bone chilling, is Henry and Elizabeth's wedding celebration. And then that's when the villager whose daughter is drowned after Frankenstein threw her in the lake, he comes just holding her dead body, and he has this completely 1,000-yard stare, and it's like, whew, because it's that juxtaposition between the celebration and also this death march for him.
And it's like the that scene always reminded me strongly of in Jaws when the woman whose son got eaten by the shark appears on the dock during the celebration. Everyone quiets down, and she goes, "I just learned that there was another girl was attacked." It's kind of like you can see where the influence draws back to. Listen, I don't talk that much about the original Frankenstein because Bride is so much more closer to me. But people need to understand that cinema was a young art when these films were made, and they're so incredibly advanced for their time. If you look at films outside the genre of the same vintage, it's shocking that the most well put together, thoughtful, innovative films of the period were in the genre, and that's not debatable.
Yeah, I agree.
Which is why I guess A24 are probably the closest we have today in that vein. So our friend Steak Sauce would like to know, Taylor ham or pork roll? Now I'm really interested in Sam's take on this because she has no right to answer it.
I don't know what a Taylor ham is. Is it like a ham that you have to hem or cut the fat off? Oh no, this is T-A-Y, not T-A-I. I'm going to say pork roll because that sounds like something that's closer to food.
Have you had a pork roll or a Taylor ham?
I've had a pork egg roll.
I don't think that's the same thing at all.
I need more clarification on what a pork roll is because I've had a lot of different kinds of meat.
They are the same product. They're the same things. It's just if you're in South Jersey, you refer to it as Taylor ham. And if you're in North Jersey, you call it pork roll. And if you're not in Jersey, you probably can't find it.
Oh. Well, what is it though?
It is it's a deli meat that's pretty much a pork sausage that's simply sliced.
Okay. Well,
it's kind of disgusting, but everyone in Jersey except for me tends to eat a lot of it.
A pork sausage that's sliced, that sounds just like sausage down here.
No, because it's cut like deli meat, like that thin. Normally.
Oh, really thin. Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like scalloped potatoes, but with meat.
Okay. That might be an accurate thing. I don't know.
It's probably not as good as like boudin, which is like sausage and rice and like sausage casing. I'm really messing that up, but I'm sure Christian or Chris will correct us.
Dave says he feels bad that I had to drive from Kentucky to Atlanta. Why not fly from Kentucky to Newark? So I didn't do any of that. I flew out of Allentown to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Kentucky to Lexington, then Lexington to Atlanta, and Atlanta to Allentown, and then drove from Allentown home. I think what you're referring to is the fact that my rental car in Lexington on the way to the airport managed to have a blowout on its passenger side tire on a highway, bounce into a curb, and then I managed to get it off the road into a parking lot. It was a little stressful.
Just a bit?
Yeah. Mr. Jonathan says, yo, homies.
So what's the update on the crock pot, Jonathan?
Yeah, that's the world wants to know about.
Should we start a GoFundMe for a new crock pot?
Well, let's put it this way. His dog can't close its mouth, so I think he has other problems.
I don't know how to take that.
Did you see the dog? The dog's in the video that I put up from Lexington. He brought the dog.
Oh, I must have missed
close
the
its
dog.
jaw. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah. It's a good dog. It's about the size of a cat.
Well, cats are the preferable size of anything because they're cats.
Sure. Again, I'm going to go into Vincent Price in a moment. Have you seen Next of Kin? If so, what are your thoughts on the film? I have. A lot of people talk about it as one of those. It and The Reflecting Skin are the two films people say remind them a lot of Lynch, but are not Lynch. It's fine. I haven't watched it in many, many years. I definitely rented it a couple times on VHS. I'd have to get closer to it before I really talk about it, I guess.
I haven't seen it all because I haven't seen most things.
All right, so Apollo Balboa 1985 says, I don't need a prequel to Friday the 13th. Well, I have bad news for you.
No, Apollo Balboa in 1985 said he doesn't need it, so we don't have to get it. Apollo Balboa 1985 has spoken.
That's it.
Please let the
It's done.
streaming services
It's been
know.
killed. It's been killed. Not everything needs to be explained and drawn out. Yeah, you're right. So the drawn out part we already kind of covered, right? Long running franchises spinning their wheels, but not everything needs to be explained is a big issue with me. Horror, no matter what emotion you're going for, is built around the idea of the unknown, because we can only feel those dark emotions about things that we can't quite understand. If you can understand it, you're not afraid of it.
Yep.
So that's why I actually, at the risk of, of paraphrasing some of my idols, the genre never should have been called horror because that's way too limiting. I always thought of it as the genre should be called uncanny, because that's really what we're talking about. It's more accurate. It doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well, and so when you explain something, if you give Freddy Krueger too much of a backstory, if we understand so the dream demons in Freddy's Dead don't work, not because of any narrative reason, but because they serve to give a half-ass explanation for something that works better as unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always that danger when you explain your monster too well that it becomes too familiar. And so another example I love in The Exorcist. If you haven't, the one thing I think is very interesting is that, well, there's a lot I find very interesting in that film, but one thing I find very interesting is that a lot of what we associate with the demon is typical child lashing out at divorced parents stuff, like swearing, telling parents they hate them, overt displays of sexuality that they knew will make their parents uncomfortable. So there's an element in the film where you have to wonder, like, is this possession or is this something else happening? And even like you get down to the root of it, even like oh, that drawer opened by itself. Well, is that really such a big deal? Did she really cause it, or was she playing that she caused it because it happened? And I think that's the power of the film, is that it leaves the door just wide enough open that you can't just say, oh, well, it's just a demon. If the film was just, oh, a demon jumped into the girl, oh no, it could still be effective, but it can't be The Exorcist. The Exorcist works because the gray areas are not colored in. And so all that to say, Apollo Babolo in 1985, dude, you couldn't be more right.
Yeah, I mean, what good would it do to have any background on Jason? He drowned in the lake when he was a kid. Okay.
It's a ghost story.
That's it.
It's a ghost story.
Yeah.
Leave it as a ghost story. Yeah, I 100% agree. Even the remake, I thought, and I think the remake did a lot of things right, more than it probably gets credit for.
Yeah,
but the scene that like explicitly shows Jason seeing Mrs. Voorhees decapitated and walking over and picking up her head, it's so bad. It's such a bad idea. You don't want to do that. You don't want to make it that explicitly that this concrete happened, because now the ghost story is not there anymore. Now it's just a guy who grew up in the woods. It works for what it is, I guess, but it loses that first film and even second film's slightly supernatural edge. You know, where there's this enough unsaid about the story that it's uncanny, it's scary.
Yeah.
Cliff wants to know, quote, thoughts, if any, on Nightmares in a Damaged Brain, or just Nightmare.
Well, I wasn't born until 1984, so my Nightmares in a Damaged Brain didn't actually start until a little bit later than that. But that's the extent of my experience.
So what can you say about a film that for years was the ultimate video nasty, right? It violated a bunch of taboos. It's definitely a big watch. I will always say that there's a middle section of that film is fairly boring, but then it gets, ultra grimy and nasty and gory again, and everyone loves it. Yeah, if you haven't seen Nightmare in a Damaged Brain, then you probably should fix that if you like kind of early 80s grimy, horror. If you like seeing Times Square when it was still like the mecca of sin that now is, it seems to be extinct in America. Even Vegas isn't that anymore. Then it's a great experience. If you want to see the seediest side of Florida, it's in the movie. And a lot of grotesque serial killing and children killing people with an axe. So there you go.
So probably a good double feature with Class from Newcomb High.
It doesn't have that trauma, like anything goes atmosphere. But it has. It would pair better if it was a wine with New York Ripper, probably.
Okay.
So,
It actually does sound more appropriate.
Yeah.
Nightmare is actually on Tubi for free, and so is New York Ripper. So
there you go. You can literally make that a double feature.
Yeah.
What would help the genre more, going back to practical effects or news stories?
Ooh.
Can I just answer that yes, please?
Well, what if you have to choose one? Because
news stories. Because I think that there's a tendency among creative people that when they're in new territory, they're forced to think about how new ways of telling those stories. And I think CGI is exactly the opposite. CGI is, what would look great in the trailer? If there was a tidal wave bigger than the Empire State Building, and then you just hire people and they make it, right? And
but that worked for Moonfall.
Well, yeah, Moonfall. I love Moonfall, but Moonfall is just truly probably the end of cinema, and it's gorgeous for being what it is, but yeah.
I would probably go with news stories as well, though. I want more practical effects. I don't see it likely, though, because it's cheaper for CGI sometimes. Depends.
Well,
but
it's kind of too, like, we all know that if you want fuel efficiency, you want a standard, not an automatic transmission.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
how many people are going to actually relearn how to really drive to do it? It's just you don't have that class of people out there to do the special effects anymore. The practical that generation has kind of moved on.
I think about shit like that when I think about pinball machines, like who upkeeps them.
I know a guy who does that.
Oh, that's rad.
He actually machines parts and everything. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a dying art.
Yep. More than you would know it's a dying art because it's a niche thing. So you'd think that they would be, but it's not. There's more collectors of the machines than there are people to fix them. So you have a waiting list. If you have a machine that's worth fixing, you have a waiting list to get it done. Yeah.
But it's good to be in demand. It's just, again, well, it's sad because it's like pinball's rad.
Jessica says, I saw Smile. Lol, it was more funny than scary. Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah.
Rock Music Forever 90 says, I saw Darkwater, the Japanese version, last month. I remember Sam mentioning in a live stream a few months ago. I got depressed.
One of us. That movie is super depressing. Both versions are, but yeah, I mean, I like the Japanese version better.
As you should.
Went back. Yeah, well, I mean, the American one was a solid remake. Just
for that cycle, for that cycle, it's a very solid remake. But but it's kind of a been there, done that too. So
yeah, no, it's ridiculously sad. It's just oof.
So any thoughts on Barbarian? Now I just talked about Barbarian last night.
That was on my short list of things to watch. Well, long list now.
It's like there's a lot to admire about what Barbarian set out to do. It didn't want to be kind of a 2022 theatrical by the numbers horror film, and a lot of people are really responding to that. That said, I really like the opening act. It's very illogical, but that's okay because it's moody, it's weird, it's edgy in its first act, and that's fine. I can overlook like crap like the fact that if you're going to rent a B&B in Detroit and you don't check out where you're going to stay, well, kind of on you. It's not like Detroit. It's just, no one realizes what Detroit is, right? But once the movie becomes more of a standard horror film, even though it's definitely untamed, it's a little bit wilder than most. I just kind of felt like they gave up the opportunity to do something a little bit more, I don't know, effective. And then it becomes kind of an action horror film in its last 20 minutes, and then it really kind of just lost me because that's a hard genre for me. Action horror is typically pretty not great for me. So, Ben Grimm says, I'm a James Whale fan, as you should be. Had to do a project on him in high school and liked his story and most of his work. Yeah. If you, I don't want to retrace the James Whale story. There's more than enough ways to have it told to you, but fascinating human being who brought a lot of great into the world.
Just all like a monolith practically.
Yeah. Our friend Christian says, dude, the Brendan film is so fun. You're not going to win this one, Lauren. I'd rather lick a toilet seat than watch the cruise winning. But here's the thing.
That's fine.
You've licked toilet seats for less reasons, so I'm not going to take that terribly serious.
What happened in Lexington? I'm so frustrated I didn't get to go.
A lot happened, and only some of it was documented. Vote for a pork roll there. So I guess Taylor Ham is in the. I think Jessica is north, so that makes sense. Yeah. So Ben Grimm is also saying, have you heard about the Mummy movies before Frasier's? George Romero almost made one that was zombie-like, and Clive Barker almost made a darkly sexual one. Stephen Miner had a Mummy film that he proposed. Stephen Miner actually had a ton of horror films that didn't get made, including his take on Godzilla. The problem with Mummy films is that there aren't very many that are very good. The Awakening is one that will put you to sleep. There's the Italian. What is that one called? Dawn of the Mummy. It's trash, but which is sad because I like the idea of mummy movies, but I very rarely actually love mummy movies.
That's like, how do you make a mummy scary?
Well, I tried to do that in a book called Eternal Unrest, available today on Amazon.
Oh, okay. So I got to buy the book to figure it out. Got it. I like how you didn't immediately shoot that down.
No, I'm willing to deal with it. Well, okay, so here we go. Griff is asking, is that the one of the Hammer sequel Mummy films? No. But so Mummy's Hand and Mummy's Ghost are, but the rest of the series isn't. Ben Grimm says, have you seen Deadstream? Great practical effects. I've not, but I did see a thumbnail of that movie. It looked really cheap, so I kind of like just ignored it. Are you telling me I should?
Interesting. Deadstream.
Ben Grimm asks, can we get a top 5 comedy list from Lauren? No.
Here.
I don't think I've seen
Ghostbusters, and Ghostbusters 2. Done.
Oh, there you go. Griff is answering. The Glimmer Man is one of Lauren's favorite comedy films. That's probably true.
I actually really like Glimmer Man. It's funny as hell. Like, that was the only Steven Seagal movie I've really ever watched from. That's the only Steven Seagal movie I've watched more than once, and I really only watched it because of was it gosh, is it Damon Wayans?
Yeah, it's Damon Wayans and Seagal.
Yeah, it's only for Damon Wayans.
So
wait, no,
that movie has one of the funniest freaking things that's ever happened in cinema in it. Whereas Steven Seagal shoots this dude, and then because it is clearly a fatal wound. And then off screen, you hear him go, oh, so that later they claim he was alive. Because Steven Seagal at that point was saying that he didn't want his heroes to kill anyone anymore. Oh my God. Just hilariously bad. Awesome.
I mean, counter programming. Dude, I'd do a live commentary for Glimmer Man on this channel.
Maybe we should make that happen. I think people would dig that.
Dude, I mean, okay, My sense of humor clearly stunted around 12 or 13 after I saw that movie because of the powdered deer penis, and I thought that was the funniest shit ever. And I never matured after that. There
you go. So Glimmerman pretty much arrested your development.
Oh yeah.
Glimmerman is just one of those films. I remember when it was coming out, already the ship had sailed, right? And no one really cared. But it was everywhere. Billboards with it. Hollywood hadn't got the message that no one cared anymore. The Glimmer Man.
Well, it's weird how so many people remember that specific Seagal movie. There's no reason.
Oh, yeah.
No reason. Oh my goodness.
There you go. So Jake is clearing up. I'm sorry. The chat doesn't always come through in the same order for us as it does for you. So sometimes the conversations get pretty difficult to follow. So he was being asked about Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. That's the horror film Hammer film he was referring to. The Hammer Mummy films are slow. They definitely are slow. And I'm a guy who likes slow movies, but I don't revisit them often because as good as Chris Lee is, those movies are slow. Oh, we're wrong. Look at that.
Yes, I mentioned that briefly, but thank you, Rock Music Forever 90, because I mean, they're all talented. I just couldn't remember which one was in Glimmer Man.
It's a big family.
Oh wait, I have to bump one of the since we're talking about Wayans brothers, I have to bump one of the Ghostbusters slots out of the top 5 comedies and put White Chicks in there. Because it's still a funny movie.
So my favorite comedy of all time is Kids in the Hall, Brain Candy.
Ooh.
Which I do think is legitimately a great film. But you see, that's the thing. It's you need that kind of comedy that's it's just no holds barred, keeps moving, attacks everyone equally. And it doesn't happen a lot.
Switching your head.
Well, they don't do that in the movie, but
No, it's still funny though.
but Cancer Boy sings a song, so
There you go.
it's a magical moment for me. That and the goth rocker who comes out and sings the folk song about butterflies and rainbows. Oh my god.
Wait, what about Smile? Smile gonna make it on your top 5 comedies?
No.
Damn.
No, because it's a B, it's not an A. Smile is one of those things that someone came up with a concept and they didn't realize that they had to have more than that. Like, oh, what happens if there's a thing that's like a supernatural virus and it passes between people and makes them smile? And someone had to say, well, how does it actually kill people? I don't know. Maybe they kill themselves, or maybe not. Or maybe they kill someone else, but maybe someone has to watch them. Why? I don't know.
Oh no.
I haven't thought this concept through at all, but and that was kind of my problem with It Follows too. Like, I couldn't for the life of me when I watched It Follows not understand why you couldn't just grab a knife and solve this problem yourself.
Well, they did that at the end.
Yeah, exactly. But it took the whole goddamn movie for anyone to fight back. In the meantime, like, people would slowly walk towards you.
True. But it's
one car, and this problem is not a problem anymore.
I mean, people. Yeah, it seems like, you guys are really overestimating, people caring about their fellow man. Being like, no, I can't physically harm this person because I know they're not in control. I'm like, nah, bitch, you're possessed.
I'm not crazy.
You have that attitude when the zombie apocalypse comes. I'm gonna look for a cure. I can't hurt this friend of mine, even if they're a zombie.
Yeah, that scene is always painful to me, like in movies, like where it's like people are like, "That's not Bobby. Shoot him." And it's like, I think they would have been through enough to be like, yeah, either I'm leaving and getting way away from Bobby, or I'm shooting Bobby in the head.
I mean, like, Bobby isn't in there anymore, guys.
Yeah, and that's pretty well established at this point. Like, I think after everything people are through in those movies, they'd be like completely like, yeah, okay, either I need to do what I need to do, or I just need to go away.
Yeah, I mean, also, it's like, what happens if you survive some of this stuff? Like, what if you just end up being a vegetable? Because it's like, if that happened to me, my consciousness would be like, peace, I'm out. I'm not coming back.
Yeah, well, a zombie apocalypse now is something that people actually want. So I think we should be done with zombie movies because people actually want that shit to happen.
And these are also the same people that want a civil war, so.
Well, because of the birds that are government drones, right?
That's true. That's true.
So I'm being corrected here that pork roll is a Central Jersey thing too.
Oh.
So but you have to get down to Ocean County before it becomes Taylor ham. Is that what's going on here? All those pancake joints at the beach, do they all serve Taylor ham, not pork roll?
Did you just say a pancake joint on the beach?
Are you unfamiliar with this concept?
Why?
You have never been to Jersey.
Well, no, obviously not. I'm just like, what kind of a pancake joint is it? Like, is it like a kiosk, or are we talking about like restaurants?
No, they're like very small shack restaurants, and they're all over all the beach towns, and they serve breakfast, and they do specifically pancakes. They're all called like Pancake King, or hey, it's time for pancakes. And you walk in, you say, I want 4 pancakes. And they usually have exotic flavors. Like, I want the passion fruit chocolate chip pancakes. And they make it for you.
That's wild.
It's a Jersey thing as well.
Do they also have any of like the breakfast sausage to go with it, or eggs?
Well, that's where the pork roll or Taylor ham comes in, right? Because it's a breakfast food.
Mm-hmm.
For no good reason. It just is a breakfast food.
That makes sense. I had chicken nuggets for breakfast like the last 3 days.
McDonald's chicken nuggets?
No, the Tyson frozen chicken nuggets.
Oh, yeah, that's the best. In the air fryer, it's awesome.
Oh, I'm too lazy for that microwave.
Oh, no.
I know. No, I know that I'm cooking them wrong. Believe me. But they do taste better than they're dinosaur shaped.
You know, it's just one of the big truths in life that when you microwave one of those quote unquote microwavable pizzas, the frozen ones that have the foil looking, they've just printed foil on the cardboard. but they always come out like completely fucking awful and destroyed, and it looks like you're trying to eat something that is like 9 days old and reheated.
Oh, they taste so good though.
No. You got to get yourself an infrared oven, a spiral infrared oven.
Okay.
Makes pizza just, and also leftover pizza then goes back to its original form the second time.
That's tempting, but I really like microwaving cold pizza and just like destroying it. I like breaking it down farther into its, subatomic structure.
Do you know Dan Savage, the columnist?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know that he has a vocabulary list. And do you know what cold pizza is a
Oh God!
is a euphemism for?
I don't want. Oh, what is it?
Oral sex during menstruation. Cold pizza.
Ew.
Yeah. See, that's the most horrifying thing on this show tonight. We do have a question again, but first, breakfast in Jersey is the shit. Bagels too.
Breakfast is a great meal. It's probably my favorite meal.
Yeah. Well, we have more diners in New Jersey than anywhere else in the country, and diners and breakfast are pretty much synonymous. So you got to get up here and check out the culture.
I know, it's wild.
All right. So Griff is asking, what is your favorite personal short story you've ever read? That's really tough. Why would you do that to me? See, I'm in the middle of rereading as many of the William Hope Hodgson's short stories as I can, because it kind of informs the work I'm working on right now. He's a big influence. Maybe The Voice on the Sea by Hodgson at the moment. But also any of the early Dennis Etchison's short stories, some of the Peter Shaw stuff, David Shaw stuff, just awesome work. It's hard to pinpoint a single story. That's really tough and mean for you to do to me. Thank you, Griff.
I mean, it might be Harrison Bergeron by Kurt Vonnegut, but then after that, probably Story of an Hour and The Yellow Wallpaper are tied.
The Yellow Wallpaper is awesome. Oh, that's such a good choice.
And then after that, probably Metamorphosis by Kafka.
And you know what? That's great too. And also I'm thinking Whistle and I'll Come to You by M.R. James.
I have not read that one.
Oh, that's the quintessential British ghost story.
What is it called again?
Whistle and I'll Come to You.
So I'll come to you. Okay. I'm just gonna that.
Some early Bradbury too. Some of the horrific Bradbury stuff.
I forgot about Bradbury.
Yeah, you see, it's tough, man. There's so much. The short story is unfortunately all but dead in our culture. And
yeah,
that's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Really sad.
Let's see. I'm currently actually reading Hellbound Heart, so because that's why I also haven't seen Hellraiser. Yeah.
The good news is you don't have to. They're very separate. I'd heard that at one point that project was a straight adaptation. It's not at all. The new Hellraiser film was fine. I was just bored with it. It's still the third best Hellraiser film, but I was bored with it.
Well, fair enough.
It follows a trend of a lot of recent movies, whereas there's no relatable point of view character for us to get us into the story. Like you know what Hellraiser is, so I guess they assume we wouldn't need one. But that's it forces you to view the story from a distance. You can't be close to it because there's no one who you're seeing through their eyes. All the characters are miserably awful people. We'll say the woman who plays Pinhead now, fucking fantastic. Better than Doug Bradley ever did. And
damn,
absolutely. The absolute high point is that they took a horror icon and did it not just justice but improved. The other Cenobites, whatever, but
No, I mean, that's nice to hear. I just, again, it's like I've been filling in gaps with the Universal Monsters and then Hellbound Heart and just trying to that's trying to put the pieces together. But then we've also been I've been filling in the gaps with Chris too, because we watched Hellbound a few weeks ago. And then the last thing we saw was Frankenhooker, because of course I was going to make him watch Frankenhooker.
makes sense.
Yes.
Hellbound is pretty incredible. But it left nowhere for that franchise to go, because you can't go bigger than that movie.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. You really can't. But yeah.
And I also think, I'm going to stoke all kinds of hate here, but Channard is a better villain than Pinhead or any of the Cenobites anyway.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, there's just something just outrageously cool about the fact that he's just kind of this Mengele figure that is searching for the supernatural. So worse. I mean, that's awesome.
You see any kind of relation between him and Dr. Pretorius, or is that just in my head?
No, I do. I do, and that probably isn't a coincidence at all, because Clive Barker is a huge Bride of Frankenstein fan.
Oh.
It's his favorite film as well.
Okay, I had no idea. That's cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, both Barker is always writing about the outsider, and Bride of Frankenstein is absolutely a film about outsiders. Every character in that film, except for perhaps Elizabeth, is an outsider in some way. And they're all searching for meaning in being an outsider. So yeah, it makes sense. Barker definitely was narrowing his focus to being an outsider because of sexuality a lot of the time, which I think is an oversimplification of Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, because I don't think those films are pushing any kind of sexual agenda. We're just talking about what it feels like to be looking from the outside in at a society that you don't quite match up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why those films are so incredibly strong, is that anyone who's drawn to horror can relate to it, because we're all outsiders. We're all outside the in-group, right?
Oh, God. No kidding. We're still but there are enough of us so we can make our own in-group, so.
That's true. But we got to be careful that it's not an insular group. We always have to be accepting of people coming in, because otherwise, again, we talk about 7 for franchises endlessly, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So we got to have the person that comes in and says, you know what, you guys are all wrong about Howling 2, and legitimately feels that way, not just I'm going to say something contrary.
So is this the part where I can talk about Halloween Ends, where Laurie's feeding people to the Michael hole?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Go for it.
Okay. Spoilers ahead. I'm giving you guys a couple of seconds, before I, just decide to spill the tea on this, because it kind of blew my mind. And Mark and Chelsea are the ones that pointed this out, so I have to attribute it to them. But, okay, so Corey essentially becomes the next Michael Myers in this movie, because the town needs a scapegoat, because the town doesn't have any closure from kills, since Michael just poof disappears after he's done jerking off in front of his sister's window. And so the town is in turmoil. There's missing people, suicides, homicides, whatever. Everything's terrible, because without knowing where the threat's coming from, you're looking for the threat so you can keep an eye on it. So, Corey, accidentally kills that kid. Essentially, he's an outcast. He and Laurie bond because she's also an outcast. And then there's the meet cute with Corey and Laurie's granddaughter. Also, I hate the fact that their names rhyme, but I'm pretty sure they did this for a reason. So, anyway, after Corey gets picked on by some kids after a party and falls over this fucking bridge into this wooded area where there's mostly homeless people, there's a drain pipe. Something pulls him in to the drain pipe. Oh, surprise, it's Michael. Michael's just been cooling his heels in the sewer like fucking Pennywise, and probably would rather be watching an It movie than this, because it's a little on the nose. So here's the thing. Corey and Michael make eye contact. And you see this flashback to all of the stuff to when Corey accidentally Like, killed
Wait,
that
does
guy.
Dreamweaver play?
It may as well, because that's a Raven part. And then Corey apparently just has like a psychotic break for the rest of the movie. But also, like, he and Michael go around killing people like they're good buddies. And it's like he's a goddamn Pokemon trainer and fucking Michael's his fucking Pikachu. I'm not even kidding. Like, why would Michael want to help this kid out? Because people have been mean to him, and so he's going to go get revenge on all of his enemies. Cool.
So now Peter Gabriel is playing, right?
The sledgehammer comes in later.
Oh no, I feel like I could score this movie.
Oh God.
And maybe I should.
With Looney Tunes sound effects?
That would be part of it, yes.
Well, yes, it's definitely part of the end. So, all right. Corey's having a psychotic break. Laurie's like, I can smell the evil on him. No, you can't.
I'm not crazy.
Yeah. Well, in this whole time where the town has been... Okay, so before I get there. So, long story short, Corey's like, blah, if I can't have Allison, no one can. And then it's like Michael and Laurie fight time. And also Allison thinks Laurie killed Corey because she was standing him over with a knife. But that's only because she pulled it out of his throat, ensuring that he'd die of blood loss. So, well, maybe she did technically kill him. Anyway, Laurie and Michael fight time. It takes like 2 minutes. She just like pins him to the kitchen island. It's one of the ones with the cutting blocks, so everything will actually stick in there. So she pins him to the cutting board island with a bunch of knives, like he's fucking Jesus over here, and then like tosses a fridge on him, and it looks like it hits him like right in the dick. And I know that did not happen to Jesus. And then she like slices open his wrists and his neck and lets him drain. And then the cops arrive. They strap him to the top of the car, and then they take him down to the junkyard, put him in the compactor. And that's your movie.
I'm pretty sure it's still illegal to kill people even if they've committed murder.
Well, nobody cares. Anyway, so here's the thing. So there's a scene where Michael and Laurie make eye contact, and the same little "That's So Raven" thing happens. And I'm like, wait, but that seemed to have corrupted Corey. And I'm like, and I know that Laurie and Michael have made eye contact in other movies.
Oh, but those movies don't exist anymore.
In this trilogy.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they made eye contact in the first one. So I'm like, wait a second. I have to, go back, retrace my steps, because I decided to rewatch Halloween Ends because I hate myself.
Do not do that.
I know.
Call me next time. I'll talk you away from that.
You'll talk me off the ledge.
Jesus Christ. There's certain things friends don't let friends do.
So this whole time, the last 4 years, when Haddonfield's been going crazy and everything's been going tits up and nobody knows what to do, Laurie Strode, who has 40 years of trauma from one night, who built this giant bunker to protect herself from the boogeyman.
Instead of just moving.
Yeah. Well, in the last 4 years, she's become Susie fucking Homemaker. And she celebrates Halloween now. Because she's decided that I'm going to move on, right? And I'm like, bitch, how you doing that when Haddonfield's fucked up? And then there's the thing about, well, we all like the Babadook, right? She not feeding worms to the monster in the basement. Because there's a scene where at one of the crime scenes, that cop Frank, he's mentioning, oh, Michael doesn't use guns. But guess who uses guns? It's Laurie. Laurie's been feeding people to the Michael hole this whole time. Prove me wrong.
Well, that would actually fit in with the original version of 2018 that they reshot. I mean, it would fit pretty nicely, actually.
Well, she even says, there's a line. She says she tried to contain him. She tells that to Michael, like, I think she says it to Michael, I tried to contain you.
Well, maybe she meant that sexually.
Ugh. Well, thank God that he's not her brother in this trilogy, allegedly. But also, why are your two central characters in this movie Corey and Laurie? That's not an accident. is not an accident. The more she feeds him, the more she transcends.
Transcends into what, though? Endless sequels that just, I don't know. People were spent all weekend 2 weekends ago just trying to convince me that I should watch it because I'll like it because it tries something different. I think when you start off trying to please any fans of something long running that's so damaged, it's just so degraded. I haven't liked a Halloween film in 24 years. That's crazy. So why would I suddenly just keep saying, yeah, but if they tried something different this time, a little different, then I'm definitely on board. This is going to be my new favorites. Yay. There's no chance.
I hate that you reminded me that H2O was 24 years ago.
24 years ago.
Isn't
it's a crazy thing. But realistically, I mean, I know there's people who like the zombie movies and there's people who like 2018. That's fine. I don't. I mean, I don't even passively say, oh, they're okay. No, like Resurrection's awful. The zombie films are awful. 2018 was awful. Kills is unbelievably vapid. And I can't see myself sitting down and taking the time, especially when there's still stuff from this year that I need to watch before the end of the year to make sure that my top 10 list makes sense. I know this thing isn't going to end up on it.
No, I mean, it's cold garbage because it's just like the smell isn't as bad, but I don't really care about any of the movies in this Halloween trilogy because 2018 soured me so much on this iteration of Laurie Strode that I just, nope.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think part of the problem is, and no one wants to just say this out loud, is that the Halloween thing works best when it's not grounded, when it is allowed to be kind of a prose poem, right? And there's nothing poetic about these new films. I mean, I can't talk about the third film because I haven't seen it, but Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills have no poetry to them whatsoever. I think the first film has a lot of poetry to it. I think the second film has less, but it still is there. The third film is a poem, period. The fourth film doesn't really. The fifth film has a lot. It's kind of a badly written poem in places, but it's still there. And that was the last time, right? Like H2O is even a little bit too hard reality for me, but at least it got the story beats right.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is a franchise where ultimately at the end of the day, I can say that I like 4 films, but there's 13 of them now?
I think so.
That's a problem, right?
It's a Blumhouse ratio. It's fine.
Yeah, Blumhouse ratio.
That's what they're batting right now.
Wow. Oh, Joe Bob's out there.
Oh, hey, Joe Bob. I haven't seen you in forever.
Yeah, exactly. Halloween Ends can kiss my ass. Fuck Corey. For your information, haven't seen Kills and no desire to watch. Which was worse, Rob Zombie's Halloween or Ends? I can't answer that because I haven't seen Ends.
Oh, it's Rob Zombie's Halloween. Ends at least is trying to make something happen. It feels like they just caved and got scared at the last minute because what you need to do is you need to leave Michael as a corpse in the sewer and have it revealed that Corey was the killer the whole time, because that's the point of the story, is that Haddonfield is so in turmoil that they need to have another Michael Myers. That's the story of trauma. That makes sense. And I mean, yeah, you don't get your big fight, but do you want like a shitty fight scene that doesn't make any sense just because it's like Laurie and Michael? Ooh.
2 7-year-olds tussling.
Huh?
Two 70-year-olds tussling. That's what we want to watch on film these days.
This was after Laurie drank like an entire bottle of booze. And she is 3 sheets to the wind, and apparently she was sober at some point during these 4 years. Like, bitch, your liver can't do that no more.
There's not enough activity in the world to cure that shit.
Nope. So it's like the fact that she managed to like kill Michael Myers after an entire bottle of hard liquor. He wasn't a threat. Just leave him in the sewer. So
I don't know. I feel like it just ran out of runway. Like it was out of runway when Resurrection happened.
Yeah, yeah.
And yet, because there's money that can still be made, like these films will continue to be made. I get it. What I don't get is how the fan base hasn't learned the lesson by now.
It's because it's the fan base. It's like you have your favorites. You want your favorites to do well, but at some point you have to like you got to give up the ghost. Like Dad's not coming back from getting cigarettes.
No.
Just give it up.
It's to me very much the Star Wars thing, right? I was never a Star Wars kid. I like 2 of those movies in that entire franchise, right? So the reality is a Star Wars film comes out next year, I won't go see it because I haven't liked enough of those movies.
Yeah.
But there's a fan base that won't let go of their childhood enough to say objectively, like, I'm not getting enough out of this to continue just supporting new shit that has a name thrown on it.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like Halloween Ends is a film that should have been like something else. It just shouldn't have been attached to Halloween. It should have been made as its own thing, and maybe it would be more acceptable then.
I honestly, yeah, if it was a one-off movie and you really didn't know anything about whoever Michael Myers was, or whatever you want to call Michael Myers, right? Whoever that dude is laying in the sewer, this old man who apparently terrorized this town. Yeah, if this was a one-off without any history behind it, probably would be a very interesting movie. But, you know, I mean, given the patch job it seems like they did on this, I'm like, this is why you need fan consultants, because somebody's got to be like, no, and then whap the people on the nose with the rolled up newspaper.
Also, I just think that like there's a time when like the producers need to just stand up and say, okay, we've made a lot of money off this franchise. What worked about it? What did people respond to, right? And then build something new with that in mind. Not just try and keep the gravy train running on an IP that's so far past its prime.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, I know a lot of people watching this right now that are probably thinking like, what a buzzkill. Like these guys can't just enjoy a movie. It's the 12th film, the 12th sequel to a film. Give it a break. You don't, my problem is that what we're doing? We're at this point so invested in something that we got to give it a break. Why would I do that when there's great films out there? Watch Moloch and tell me you need Halloween Ends in your life. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah, we probably do sound like broken records because I know we do this a lot, but it's until these sequels end, it's probably what's going to keep happening. And it's not like I don't want to like a movie. I want to enjoy movies. It's just Halloween Ends was not it in certain parts. Like it, you know, if like for people that liked, you know, Season of the Witch and Friday 5 and stuff that's like kind of out, like really takes a walk away from the, you know, the canon, the storyline for the most part. Yeah, you'll probably enjoy it. And this movie probably will find some favor, but it may take a while. I just, you know, I liked it because I was seeing it with friends, and that made the experience enjoyable. Just, I haven't been able to crack jokes in a theater with other people in like a year. So
when I saw Rob Zombie's Halloween, I saw with friends, and we had a group of teenage girls behind us who were just talking about their day the entire time behind us. And it was so ridiculously enjoyable to watch people not invested in a movie. So that we had a great time with just like the vapid teenage girls behind us talking about like gym class.
Oh, the people next to us in the theater, they were respectful and didn't talk like we did. But there were some, you know, we tried to be quiet, but there were some parts where, you know, it's like I could hear the guy that was sitting next to Chris, like, because the fucking Fortnite kid at the beginning who gets waxed, like was talking back to his mom, and this dude's like, I was like, that's the theater experience I've been waiting for years. Just let me hear your commentary. It brings me so much joy.
So I I want to talk about Terrifier 2 for a second, but you're going to need to amuse the audience for a moment.
Oh.
To song and dance time.
Oh, God. I was literally going to be like shuffling off to Buffalo. So I don't know how exactly I'm going to amuse you guys, but... Ooh, I'll go grab the cat. Wait, no, that would require me leaving you in silence. All right. Well, Lauren's gone. Let's talk about him behind his back. No? Come on, you guys are killing me. So, anyway, has anybody seen Halloween Ends yet? Besides, like, I mean, wait, of course you have. Never mind. You're here, aren't you? You're still listening. I wonder how many people I ran off with that rant. Because it was full of spoilers. Also a little worried about Lauren going to talk about Terrifier 2 because I still haven't seen it. I don't even know where to see it except, I guess, probably Amazon. They seem to have everything. I mean, I could go see it at a theater, but I was just at the theater. Oh, Cliff, you turned it off after 30 minutes for real? Ooh. Is it bad or is it just like too gory? Because I mean, the first one was really gory for me, especially when the blonde gets sawed through the right down the middle. That was a bit much. Where is
Sorry, biology.
Okay. No, I mean, Cliff Booth apparently turned Terrifier 2 off after 30 minutes. So, I still haven't seen it.
So, I mean, it was what it is.
And I ruined Halloween Ends for Griffin. Yes, I feel ashamed, Griff.
I don't think he cared. Terrifier 2 is just, it's long. It's not nearly as extreme as its reputation would have you believe. After I had, again, an entire weekend of people telling me, you won't believe how far it goes. It feels like a slasher film.
Is that a good thing, or?
I mean, I like the fact that it's something different than everything, but I was cold on the first film, and I probably feel about the same on this. It's okay. I appreciate that it's a new franchise and it's gaining some steam legitimately and organically. I like all that. I think Art the Clown being a clown is the laziest thing ever. Because the killer clown thing. Ugh.
Well, I mean,
talk about trope.
Technically, he's a mime, isn't he?
His name is Art the Clown.
Right, but he's wearing black and white and he doesn't speak.
Yeah.
I mean, he may be wearing a clown outfit and his name may be Art the Clown, but David Howard Thornton has mime training.
Well, he's not bad. Don't get me wrong at all. It's just the killer clown thing has been done to death. And
yes, yeah, and that's, honestly, the reason that I like Terrifier is not because it's not for the gore, it's not for the story, but like Thornton is really mesmerizing to watch the whole time and just really unsettling. And it's like that just really, that's what drew me in and kind of got under my skin. So
then
I'm only there. Honestly, I'm only there to watch his performance because that's what got me into the first one.
Well, then you'll have a lot to enjoy. So I mean that's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad that I saw it in theaters. I didn't stream it anywhere. I'm glad I supported it, and on the whole, I think it's a good thing that it's out there, right?
Yeah.
But for everyone saying, oh, it's extreme horror. I can't believe normies are showing up. They're throwing up in the theaters and they're passing out and ambulances are getting called. Dude, none of that's happening. Okay.
Oh my God, my mother-in-law sent an article about that to my husband. It was funny.
Nothing. I mean, it's gory, but it's gory in a very very foam latex and Chirosyrup blood sort of way. It does not look real ever. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and again, I've seen gorier kills in movies. I mean, there's really nothing in this film as gory as the autopsy at the beginning of Saw 4. Like that's far more hardcore than anything in this movie. So
Yeah.
So I
What's
guess
the best part of Saw 4?
excuse me.
That might have been the best part of Saw 4.
Saw 4 is definitely a film that has less going for it than the 3 before it.
Yeah.
I still like it though. But I guess I had hoped that even though I didn't love the first film, that this was going to be everything was people were saying is kind of like the cannibal holocaust of our time kind of thing. And ultimately it's a failure at that. As its own thing, it's just an overlong slasher film. Where it does dive into the supernatural, I felt the film was kind of coming alive and doing its own thing, and I was kind of proud of it and happy, and I wanted more of that. But then the just straight slasher elements would come right back in full force, and I'd be like, but that was creative. Do that again.
Yeah.
But that might not be fair. Like I always say that people should review films based on what the film is, not what you want it to be. So maybe I was doing a little bit of that. Maybe that's unfair.
Well, we're all guilty of that.
Yeah, to some degree.
Yep, that's very true.
Anyway, so we should actually get back on the train of doing one of these a month, don't you think?
Oh yeah, I would say. Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So I want to thank everyone out there who said hello tonight in the chat. We have Griff out there. We have Cliff out there. Griff and Cliff.
Corey and Lori.
Corey and Lori. We have Joe Bob. We have Ben Grimm. We have Rock Music Forever 90. Jake Corinthos. Ben Grimm again. I'm going to say his name like every time it comes up, aren't I? Jessica's out there. Dr. CZ Death. Who else is out there that I'm missing? I can only go so far up before it cuts me off. Dave Vanderhoff was out there at some point.
Did you see Joe Bob?
I can't imagine I missed Joe Bob. And of course, we both Steak visited and Jonathan visited, and we had, I think even Piz was here at one point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I want to thank all you cats for watching. If you're watching this after it's no longer live, obviously you can't ask questions, but what you can always do is send questions to me on the Twitter or to my email, and we will answer them on the next one. So that it pretty much forces you to watch. I want to thank you also in advance for dealing with the fact that you're going to see my book trailer like every time I do a broadcast.
That's exciting.
There should be a release date soon. Griffith's asking when that new book drop. So the book is now completely out of my hands, and the publisher is just working on the final breeze through to make sure everything is right. The final typesetting, the cover art has to be completely finalized, which just means it has to be formatted to book size. And then that same artwork has to be reworked for the ebook version, and the same process for typesetting has to happen for the ebook. So we're in the final days. I anticipate it being out before Thanksgiving, but I don't have an exact date for you. Believe me, it will not be a mysterious, like a closely guarded mystery. We will let you know. And I appreciate every one of you that has spent the last 4 years or any part of that watching my ridiculous channel. Hopefully you'll consider buying the book as payment for that 4 years of entertainment.
Lauren's giving.
Lauren's giving. Yeah, we're going to do a telethon. Sam will
Oh
be
my
manning the
gosh.
phones.
So excited.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though. Sam and Steak will be on the phones, and you won't know who you'll get. So,
Yeah, you might get like a very high pitched voice, or you might get me.
There is no better way to end a show than that. So, at that point, everyone, have a great night, have a great November, and we're going to try real hard to be with you a lot more often.
Happy Day of the Dead.
Be good.